What about you all who have the long hair? You maybe don't want a ton of layers. You maybe want a really easy layered look that you can do on your own at home or create for clients in the salon. So we're gonna be keeping this fairly long, taking it off just a little bit here at the end, so still tons of hair to work with. So we're just gonna split it right in the middle to create our two subsections on the side. And then we are going to cut our guide, which if you see, there's a little bit of one already because I was filming a short for this haircut. So I had to do that first, but we're just gonna come straight down. I like to start in the middle, fine side of my comb, coming straight down, not pulling out, and cutting. And I'm gonna be doing a nice blunt cut. Take our next section and we're gonna just continue to cut this perimeter all the way to the very top of our back section. You wanna take small enough sections that you can always see through to your guide. Once you take too big of a section and you lose that guide, that's when you risk cutting any unevenness in length and in your layers. So I can see my guide right here. I can see it underneath as well. Cut. Let this last section out and that'll be our perimeter in the back. I can see very easily through to my guide and cut. Okay, so we have all of our perimeter is cut now and our length is achieved. And before we create the layers, I wanna tell you some really exciting news. I started a second channel called Summer Beauty. Don't worry, Styles by Summer is here to stay with your weekly hair tutorial content. But Summer Beauty is still gonna be all things hair, but it's gonna be styling tips, how to get the most volume in your hair, how to get your hair smooth, how to get your hair healthier, along with like just fun everyday things. So make sure you go check out Summer Beauty, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified every time I upload so I can grow with you guys there as well. So make sure you check me out there and then make sure you still tune in to Styles by Summer. I'm gonna need you here. So now that we've created that perimeter, we are gonna start creating our layers. So I'm gonna lower her down first because her hair is really long and you guys won't be able to see it on camera. So I gotta come all the way basically to the bottom. So to create our layer, this is gonna be the easiest way to do long layers. Long layers, you don't wanna see a ton of movement, just a little bit. You wanna be able to get that hair pulled back into a ponytail, braid your hair and whatnot. So we're gonna come across the very, very top. So I'm gonna take the smallest section on the very top of the hair. So just straight across, just that very top outer section. It is not big at all. So we're gonna use this to set the guide for our layers in the back. So we still have our length. We're gonna be pulling this down, and because I wanna keep it long, I'm only gonna be cutting off about 2.5, maybe 3 inches tops. So to do that, once I'm done it, again, we're on the very, very top layer here. We're not taking a huge chunk. I'm gonna come in front. If I were in salon, I would still be doing this, behind the client, but so you guys can see. So we're gonna be combing this all the way up. Take note of where that guide was, and I'm gonna be cutting off all that little bit right there. So come straight up with it and cut. And I'm just lightly sort of point cutting into that to keep it soft. I don't want a hard, blunt line. So we've still got a little bit of separation there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just take our next section across the top and everything is just gonna be coming straight up. I'll work sort of essentially on one side of the head and then I'll go to the other side. So we're coming straight up, back to this top section here. I can see my guide and point cut into that. I'm gonna come to this other side, continue going over with my section, comb the rest of that hair down. And then again, pulling all the way up and meet your guide. And then you're just gonna continue pulling the rest of all the hair all the way up. If somebody has fine, thinner hair, you can take bigger sections. If they have thick hair, I would do similar sections to the size I'm creating. But this is such an easy cut to do for your clients in salon and to even do on yourself at home. And then you can every now and then split the section in half just to make sure you're getting nice clean lines, and always just pull straight back up. And you can see there, we barely have anything to cut. And again, we're keeping these layers nice and long so they're easy to maintain, but you'll still get a little bit of movement through the hair. And then when we create our face frame, you're gonna be able to see a lot more movement, but the back is much softer. And I think after this piece, I don't know that anything else is gonna be meeting that guide. So I'm just gonna take a pretty big section here, just using my fingers at this point. So this is my layers. And you can see here that there's nothing more to cut because these aren't coming all the way to the top. So we're gonna let that out, and now we are gonna work on our face frame, which is always so much fun. All right, so what we're gonna do is just cut our perimeter to the sides first. And then I'm using my shark fin shears. As always, these are 6 1/4 inch. I have the professional plus stainless, and I will leave a link for you guys below along with my promo code. I absolutely love this company. They've got several different options, so essentially a budget to fit anyone. And then they have some really nice high-end ones as well. The ones I have are kind of right in the middle, which I like. And then with my promo code, you get an additional pair of thinning shears as well as a razor to the shears you buy. So it ends up being a very good deal. So still nice and long, and then I'm gonna match up on the other side first. And you're gonna comb down, see that guide, and cut. And then before I start my face frame, I'm just gonna check the front pieces, make sure that they're lining up. In salon, I stand in front of the client to do this. If you're doing it at home, this is parted in the middle, so you would bring it to the center to make sure that they match. And that is looking good. So I'm gonna separate again at the ear to do my face frame. You're gonna do this on both sides. And then I like to just clip that back section out of the way. We don't need it. We are keeping the face frame long, but we want to create a little bit more movement than we did maybe necessarily with the layers in the back. That way you open up the face a little bit more. A lot of times I've had several clients that they want all even one length in the back and only face frame in the front because that's what's the lowest maintenance for them. So we're first going to set our guide, and I'm gonna come in almost like I'm taking a bang sectioning, where you're basing it off of the edge of that eyebrow, and I'm gonna do that on both sides. I'm gonna push the rest of the hair behind the head. So now with that section, I'm gonna come in and do even a smaller section, so break that in half. And we are going to set our guide. We're keeping this long where they can pull it back into a ponytail. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna twist the hair first. So I'm gonna comb down nice and tight with that fine side of the comb, and I'm just gonna twist the hair. And what this is going to do, it's gonna start creating a little bit of like a curvature for us. Twist, twist, twist. So we're basically at the chest here, and I'm just gonna point cut into that. Let that fall. Nip a little in the middle. And we have our guide. And then now we're just gonna continue taking small sections to blend that in. So we almost have like a little baby triangle. That was the theme of last week's haircut, and it's pretty, the triangle idea when you're creating your face framing is pretty universal. So I'm gonna come in, I've got my hands at an angle. I'm gonna actually take this just a tiny bit shorter and slide down into that. I'm gonna angle it just a little bit more. Perfect. We're gonna take our next piece, coming straight down with it. I see my guide forming here. Take my scissor, take my comb, I'm angling down. I see my guide here, and I'm just gonna continue to sliver right into that. And then we've got our last piece here, which is just a little baby amount left to take. Nothing wild. And then we're gonna blend in the other side, but look at that nice angle. And again, this is still nice and long. I love a long layered haircut. They're so nice and classic. You can't go wrong with them. Even if you have shorter hair, they're a great cut. So we're gonna take the next section over here of our other side, and we're gonna do the same exact thing, except because I changed sides, I will change how I do the face framing depending on how I'm standing across the body. Like I'm gonna come up now from the bottom, and because I did shorten that original piece, I'm gonna even that out first, and I'm just gonna angle up into it. Much better. So I'm coming down, I'm keeping my hands going at an angle. I see my short guide up there, and I'm taking my shears at an angle and coming right up into it. So my fingers are at an angle, my shears are also at a slight angle when I cut. Next section. Angle down. Come right up into it. And our last piece. Just a little that I don't like how that's laying here. Maybe just a tiny bit off of this little corner. The lack of shoulders that this mannequin doesn't have is throwing me off. Now we're gonna comb both sides forward and see how it's lining up. And then we're gonna create a little bit more layering here through this face frame before we get her dry. She just needs a little bit more cut all together on this side. So I'm just gonna finish that off really quick before we layer. Much better. So what we're gonna do now is create our layers first, and then anything that might need to be tweaked will get lightly tweaked with creating those layers, and then we will dry. So I pretty much always check my layers this way. I'm gonna lower her again because we're gonna be lifting and she's got all that length. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start in the back side of my face frame. And what we're gonna do is lift this all the way up and we're gonna come all the way over with it. So up and over, like gonna be out of frame, and then just cut any little bit that is left. And I'm gonna do that all the way through to the front of her face frame. So up and over. Usually in the front, there's not as much to cut. I'm gonna repeat that over here. Just a baby amount here. And then the last thing I'm gonna do to check my layers for her face frame, I will again take that back parting, and what I'm gonna do is we're gonna comb completely forward, and I'm gonna twist and nip into that. And what this does is it just creates a little bit softer of a layer, takes out a little bit of that weight without removing too much. Down, twist, cut. Come up, go all the way over while twisting, and nip. And repeat on the other side. I like starting in the back. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting at. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lightly respritz her and get her shaped. I'm gonna be using a big old round brush just to create enough bend after my rough dry, and then we'll see her final look. Okay, so we have her dried and styled. She needs some work in her front face framing. It's a little tiny bit off on one side, but I wanna show you the back. So it's a nice long layer. So she has just a little bit more movement, but you keep it nice and long all throughout that top. And then if you go to curl it and stuff, you're gonna see just a little bit along the bottom there, and it takes some weight out. The one thing that's nice about long layers is you typically don't have to do much dry cutting with them afterwards because they're so minimal. They blend really seamlessly. What I'm gonna only do is just lightly texturize the top. And you might not need to do this on yourself or in salon, but this mannequin has so much hair. It was a very long blow dry, so just along that very top layer is all I'm doing to just lightly soften it up. Oh yeah, that's nice. Okay, so now we're gonna come into our lovely face frame, which I'll say this side wanted to curve out and not curve in, but I feel like she's a little longer just in here. Yeah, right in this corner. So I'm gonna first start off by making sure my front two pieces are lining up nicely. And they are, so that matches. I'm just gonna take those sections, come straight down with it, and just nip at that in between to blend it in more. I can see that. Sometimes it just like The littlest bit of hair makes all the difference, and you always want that face frame nice and even. I'm gonna check that again. I'm gonna blow dry this. This piece is refusing to literally curve the other way. It's driving me crazy. Let me know in the comments if this is something you can relate to as a hairstylist. Styling your client's hair and then it will not fall in line. Oh my God, it's driving me crazy. So I just like to stand directly in front of the client. Let me do it on this side, so you guys can see, and you would pull all the pieces forward and see how they're lining up. I'll do it. I need to stand in front of her, but I'm trying to show you guys. But you would just bring it directly down into the center of their part to see where it's lining up. So I'm gonna make sure I got this nice and even, and then we'll get finished up. Okay, I think I got the face framing matched up. Her hair would just not, it didn't want to bend. It still doesn't really want to bend on that side, but we blended it in a little bit better, and now we can get you guys out of here. Okay, here we have our finish and final look. Those nice face framing pieces with those long layers through the back. It adds just enough movement so you have some shape, but you're still maintaining that long, thick hair that we started with, just tweaked a little bit. Remember, take small sections, angle those hands, angle those scissors, pull straight up to create those nice, easy layers, and then enjoy your fresh new haircut that you either gave yourself or to your client. Be sure to check out my new channel, Summer Beauty. I will leave it linked below in the description, as well as those shark fin shears. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.
मैंने 2 या 3 महीनों से कोई हेयर कट नहीं की है। मैं कोई भी पार्लर या फिर कहीं नहीं जाती, मैं खुद घर पे ही कट करती हूँ। बहुत ही ज़्यादा आसान है, आपको बस कुछ स्टेप्स फॉलो करना है। ये वीडियो मैंने बहुत ही ज़्यादा डिटेल में बनाई है ताकि आपके लिए 2000% हेल्पफुल रहे, और आप जब इसे ट्राई करो घर पे तो आपके लिए कोई प्रॉब्लम ना हो। ये है मेरा हेयर लेंथ। अब देख सकते हो कि मैंने ये हेयर कट बहुत ज़्यादा किया है, इसलिए मेरे हेयर्स पे ये इतने ज़्यादा लेयर्स दिख रहे हैं। तो लेयर्स बहुत ही बढ़ चुके हैं। तो आज मैं बहुत दिनों के बाद हेयर कट करूँगी। तो आप देख सकते हो फ्रंट से ये ऐसा लगता है, नीचे वाला हिस्सा पूरा डेड है, मतलब पूरा ख़त्म है। तो इसको मुझे कट करना है अभी। सबसे पहले हेयर को बैक टू फ्रंट कोम्ब करके टैंगल्स रिमूव करना है। अगर आप चाहते हो कि हेयर कट परफेक्ट आए तो ऑब्वियसली ये वाला स्टेप आपको अच्छी तरीके से करना होगा। कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता आप कौन सा ब्रश यूज कर रहे हो, आपके पास जो है आप वो यूज कर सकते हो, बस टैंगल्स रिमूव होना चाहिए। कोम्ब करते करते आपको हेयर्स को सामने लाना है, और जहाँ पे हेयर लाइन स्टार्ट होती है वहाँ पे, मतलब फोरहेड के सामने आपको एक पोनी टेल डालनी है। एक रबर बैंड की मदद से आप टाइटली इसे टक कर लेना। आप देख सकते हो मेरे जो हेयर्स है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा अनइवन लग रहा है, मैं बहुत ज़्यादा फनी लग रही हूँ, पता है, बट जो लेंथ के हेयर्स है बहुत ही ज़्यादा गंदा लग रहा है। तो पहले मैं इसे कट करूँगी, क्योंकि मैं यही हेयर कट बार बार करती हूँ, और ये हेयर कट जो है वो वी शेप में आता है, इसीलिए जो नीचे का हिस्सा है वो डैमेज ज़्यादा होता है, पूरा झाड़ी वजह से बन जाता है। तो पहले मुझे इसे कट करना है, फिर मैं हेयर कट स्टार्ट करूँगी। आप चाहो तो एक रबर बैंड का यूज़ कर सकते हो। जहाँ से आपको हेयर कट करनी है उसके थोड़ा ऊपर से आप हेयर बैंड को अच्छी तरीके से टक कर लीजिए, देन आप हेयर कट कर सकते हो। इससे थोड़ा आपको हेल्प मिल जाएगी। मैं रबर बैंड यूज़ नहीं कर रही हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे अभी बहुत सालों की प्रैक्टिस हो चुकी है। मैं बहुत सालों से ये हेयर कट घर पे कर रही हूँ, इसलिए मुझे रबर बैंड की ज़रूरत नहीं है। आप चाहो तो आप इसे यूज़ कर सकते हो, बहुत ही ज़्यादा हेल्प हो जाएगी आपके लिए। अभी जो मेरा डेड हेयर है मैं उसको रिमूव करूँगी, इसके लिए कोई कटिंग की ज़रूरत नहीं है। आप स्ट्रेट कट कीजिए, और अभी ये इवन लग रहा है। अब मैं इसमें अपना बेस जो है, मतलब लेंथ जो है हेयर की, वो कट करूँगी। इस हेयर कट का जो फर्स्ट स्टेप है वो है इसका बेस और लेंथ, जो हम फर्स्ट कट करेंगे। ध्यान रखिए आपको 1 या 2 इंच की हेयर्स लेनी है कट करने के लिए, ज़्यादा हेयर कट मत कीजिए। अगर आपने रबर बैंड यूज़ किया है तब भी आपको ऐसे उंगलियों से होल्ड करना होगा। टाइटली होल्ड कीजिएगा जहाँ पे रबर बैंड है, उसके ठीक नीचे आप 2 उंगलियों से ऐसे ही होल्ड कीजिए और सीजर को आप ऐसे होल्ड ना करके एंगल करके होल्ड कीजिए जैसा मैं कर रही हूँ और छोटे छोटे स्ट्रोक्स देके आपको हेयर को कट करना है। तो हमारा जो बेस है मतलब लेंथ वो कट हो चुकी है। अब मैं रबर बैंड खोल के दिखाऊंगी कि ये फ्रंट से कैसा लगता है। आप लोग देख सकते हैं कि फ्रंट से जो लुक आया है वो यू शेप में आया है। आप बैक से भी देख सकते हो कि ये कैसा लग रहा है फर्स्ट स्टेप के बाद। आपको फर्स्ट स्टेप में बहुत ही ज़्यादा लॉन्ग लेयर्स मिलते हैं। आप चाहो तो अपना हेयर कट यहीं पे आप फिनिश कर सकते हो, लेकिन मैं इस वीडियो में आपको दिखाने वाली हूँ 4 स्टेप लेयर हेयर कट, जिससे आपके हेयर में बहुत ही ज़्यादा वॉल्यूम ऐड हो जाएगा। सेकेंड स्टेप के लिए जहाँ से ईयर स्टार्ट होता है वहाँ से आपको एक सेक्शन लेना है दोनों तरफ से। मैं जहाँ से ले रही हूँ फ्रंट से जो आपको सेक्शन लेना है वो ऐसे लेना है। आपको मैं बैक से भी दिखा रही हूँ कि सेक्शन कैसे लेते हैं। अब ये नीचे का जो सेक्शन है जिसे मैंने छोड़ दिया है इसे हमें बिल्कुल भी कट नहीं करना है, ये हमारा लेंथ है। इसके ऊपर जो सेक्शन है इसे हमें कट करना है। फिर से आपको बैक टू फ्रंट कोम करना है ऐसे। आपको ध्यान रखना है कि इसके बाद मैं जो भी कट करूँगी वो स्टेप बाय स्टेप छोटा होता जाएगा, आपको वो दिखेगा और आपको लॉन्ग लेयर से शॉर्ट लेयर दिखेंगे। फिर से आपको सेम चीज़ दोहरानी है। आपको बैक टू फ्रंट कोम करते हुए हेयर्स को आगे लाना है और एक पोनी टेल डालनी है ऐसे। कट करने के टाइम हेयर्स को आपको स्ट्रेट होल्ड करना है अपने फिंगर्स की मदद से, जैसे कि मैं कर रही हूँ। ध्यान रखिए सीजर्स को आपको स्ट्रेट होल्ड नहीं करना है, जैसे मैंने होल्ड किया है वैसे करके आप जिगजैग पैटर्न में कट करना स्टार्ट कीजिए। इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो आपको बतानी है वो है आपको एक ही बार में बहुत ज़्यादा हेयर नहीं कट करना है। आप थोड़े थोड़े बाल लेके छोटे छोटे स्ट्रोक्स देके कट कीजिए। तो सेकंड स्टेप हमारा कट हो चुका है। अब मैं पोनीटेल खोल के आपको दिखाऊंगी कि ये फ्रंट से कैसा लगता है। आपको हर बार यू शेप ही मिलेगा फ्रंट से। आप पीछे से भी देख सकते हो कि लेयर्स कैसे आए हैं। आपको सेकंड स्टेप में ऐसे ही लेयर्स मिलने वाले हैं, मतलब जो लॉन्ग लेयर्स थे वो थोड़ा छोटा होता जाएगा धीरे धीरे। थर्ड स्टेप के लिए पहला वाला जो सेक्शन हमने लिया था उसके थोड़े ऊपर से हमें थर्ड सेक्शन लेना है। फिर से आपको सेम चीज़ दोहरानी है। आपको बैक टू फ्रंट कोम करके हेयर्स को आगे लाना है। आपको सेम रबर बैंड की मदद से पोनीटेल बनानी है। फिर से आपको जिगजैग पैटर्न में हेयर को कट कर लेना है। जिगजैग पैटर्न में कट करने से आपका जो कटिंग आता है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा नेचुरल फिनिश देता है। तो हमारा जो थर्ड स्टेप है यहाँ पे होती है कंप्लीट। अब मैं ये रबर बैंड ओपन करूँगी और आप देख पाओगे कि कैसा लग रहा है। आपको पता है कि फ्रंट से ये यू शेप ही देने वाला है। थर्ड स्टेप में आपको ऐसे लेयर्स मिलने वाले हैं। क्लियरली यू कैन सी कि वॉल्यूम ऐड हो चुका है। अब जितना ज़्यादा लेयर्स करते जाओगे, मतलब जितना ज़्यादा स्टेप करते जाओगे 1 2 3 4 5 6 करके, उतना ज़्यादा वॉल्यूम आपके हेयर्स पे ऐड होता जाएगा। फोर्थ स्टेप और द फाइनल स्टेप के लिए आपको इस वाले पोर्शन को कट करना है। जहाँ से आपका आईब्रोज एंड होता है वहाँ से आपको एक सेक्शन लेना है। दोनों तरफ से एक ही चीज़ करनी है। बैक से भी आप देख सकते हो कि मैंने सेक्शन कैसे लिया है। हेयर्स डिवाइड हो जाने के बाद आपको सेम चीज़ फिर से करना है। आपको बैक कोम करके हेयर्स को सामने लाना है, बट इस स्टेप में आपको पोनीटेल नहीं बनानी है। उस सेक्शन के पूरे हेयर्स को आपको एक बार लेफ्ट साइड और एक बार राइट साइड में लेके आना है ऐसे, जैसे मैं कर रही हूँ। फिर आपको छोटे छोटे स्ट्रोक्स देके हेयर को कट कर लेना है। अब देख सकते हो कि जितने हेयर्स मैंने अपने फिंगर्स पे होल्ड किया है उससे थोड़ा जो छोटे बाल हैं वो गिर रहे हैं, तो उन्हें हमें कट